for being here. Feel free to have your screen on or screen off. It's totally fine with me. And I appreciate you investing the next hour and a bit into learning about lead gen engines and different options out there. Really excited to talk about lead gen and engines because I think lead gen in many ways in real estate has always been made to think about things that didn't connect with you and perhaps styles of lead generation that you didn't resonate with, that you didn't really enjoy. And there's so many ways that I have watched people build their business. And there's so many ways that myself over the years have, tweaked my sources of lead generation and made changes to get really aligned with the type of business that I enjoy running and the type of people I enjoy being around. And so lead generation is pretty much the most important thing out there, right? Like you are what everyone thinks we do as a realtor, what they see us do is, 25% of the job as we know, and the rest is lead generation, servicing, and staying in touch. And so that's why I'm so excited to kind of build out this concept in this course. First time I'm talking to it, I'm going to turn this into a book and a little bit of a longer class, a working class. And I hope that you'll watch it in the future and give me more feedback. So I really welcome the feedback after you watch it. We'll have a recording of it and I can send it out if you have any things that you want to watch again. And I'd love the feedback if you feel there's things that I was missing and need to add. All right, so you all should have received a participation workbook as well. I believe Tamara is going to throw it once or twice more into the chat box. And that's your workbook to download and work on. So I think most of you have already muted yourself, which is awesome. Thank you for that. And feel free to put any questions that come up into the chat bar, and at the end we'll go through them. You've invested an hour and a half of your time right now to work on your business. So don't lose that time. Make sure that you use the workbook so you get the most out of the moments ahead. But again, do you, so no need to be on camera unless you like that. I certainly like seeing faces, but that totally works any which way. So let's talk about your workbook. You should all have it. It's several pages with really specific questions for you about you and your business. It's an opportunity to take this time and as you're listening to fill out things on your own business with regards to your lead generation. And as nuggets come into your brain, write them down. My goal is that you get one or two nuggets. Really simple. I think one or two nuggets can literally change your business. Anytime I go to a coaching event or a training event, I'm not there to listen for 3 days. I'm there to pick up one or two things that I'm actually going to apply. So I ask of you two things. One, please use your workbook, fill it in, and build on it, and then put into your calendar, 1 week and 1 month time to reflect back on the notes that you're going to take today and the intentions that you're going to write down, because I believe you are ahead of the game simply by being here today, but by applying it is actually where you're going to win. So use that workbook and fill it in, and then apply it to your business in the months and years ahead. All right. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk a little bit about who I am, talk about referral strategy, talk about models and concepts relating to lead generation. And then we're going to have a brainstorming session about 99 plus different ways of generating leads. We're not going to go through all 99 because there's still a work in progress. There's still many more that I have to build out, but there's enough here today for us to have a really good brainstorming session. And again, the ticket is find something that you will commit to that resonates with you. And as we talk about it, I'm hoping that many of you will be like, oh my God, that's so simple. I didn't think of that. Or, oh my gosh, I did remember that, but I've never done that. And all the things that we're going to talk about work at generating leads to different degrees at different expenses and different effectiveness. And then at the end, we're going to have questions available. I'll answer any questions that might come up. So just, put them in the chat or make note of it. So why is it important for me to share who I am? Quite simply, when I'm on Facebook, there are way too many people these days right now who are, purporting a training course or a class or talking about what you should be doing. And many of them I actually know have sold very little real estate, have a very small pedigree of success behind them. And it's this crazy world we're in right now where a lot of people that are giving advice, in my opinion, have unproven advice. And so my goal for you to know is I've been a realtor for 14 years. co-run a real estate team with my business partner Connie, and we have a lot of great success. Our team sells a property every 2 days. I personally sell on average a property every 7 days, and that has been generated over the years consistently by being a listing specialist and really every morning focusing on my lead gen. And you know what? I know what I don't like. I know I don't like door knocking, and yet there's a realtor in our office, RD, that's amazing at door knocking. I've never door knocked a day in my life, so that's not part of my lead gen. But every morning I do lead gen the way I want to do it. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I focus on the engines that work for me. And so the point here is, make sure that you again apply it to your business. A little ask I have for you: if there's any realtors across Canada that currently don't have a great referral partner in Vancouver, we service from Hope to Squamish. I kind of work the core of Vancouver, and we have a cool little commission structure. It's 30/3. What that means is we pay 30% referral on all the business that we close. And then we have a cool feature where we'll pay you an additional 30% on any business that is tied to that initial referral for up to 3 years. So I have sent multiple checks to people who've sent me a referral within that 3-year period, and they totally forget why the second check is coming, and it's a great surprise. So yeah, if you have any referrals going to Vancouver, I'd love to represent them and be your Vancouver realtor. All right, let's dig into it. So where is your business? Many of our businesses is in the middle. It's in the average, because many of our businesses get there because we simply do the things we want to do. And on the extreme one side is complete failure. So most of us are not there, luckily. And on the extreme opposite side is complete success. And so success does come from doing the things that you do not want to do, but you need to. And so lead gen is one of those things. Many of us, are deflecting the responsibility to lead gen in our own business, and then we're surprised when we're not driving the business the way we thought we would. And lead gen is the foundation of that. And so you get to choose, you kind of don't get to choose where you are right now because you are there, but you get to choose where along this path you're going to be through your lead gen. And we often, overestimate what we can get done in a year. We underestimate what we're going to get done in 5 years. And so you could have a business completely different, operating in a totally different style by focusing on your lead generation engines over the next few years by simply the things that you're going to apply and put into practice from this brainstorming session. All right. So with lead generation, there's often a myth. There's this myth that, I'm bothering someone when I contact them in any number of the lead generation forms that are available. When in truth, you're a professional. You're providing extremely good value. You're coming up with solutions, and the people are really appreciative. And so, get yourself into the frame mind of being an advocate and a helper to the people you contact, and don't continue to foster that myth in your brain. The self-talk is really important. So the path to success is really quite simple. And these are kind of the things to remember. You need a big why. You need a reason why you get up every day and you do this job. I mean, I don't know about you, but many times real estate sales was not the easiest job I could have picked. It certainly has no limit in the ceiling, which is exciting. And it's been very rewarding that way for myself and my family. But, every January you start the year at zero with no deals and very little commission coming in the pipeline. And so you need a big why and a big reason on why you are investing your time and energy into this profession. Part of that is your annual goal. It's figuring out, what is it that you want to accomplish, and then how are you going to get there is derived from what your daily habits are going to be. And then you need to figure out how to get into activity and into action. Talking a little bit about activity and action. If I look at the top 10% of realtors in our real estate board, and I put them all up on stage, as we sometimes do once a year at our awards night, and I was truthful with myself, and if I visualize myself as being a consumer versus a realtor, maybe I connect with 25 or 30% of the realtors standing on stage. The others might have a personality that I don't connect with, might have a style that I don't appreciate, or we've just not aligned, and yet they're very successful. And so that has always been a question I've asked myself when I watch successful realtors who I think have unique ways of acting. The reason they're successful is because they get into action and activity every day. They spend the morning on a model, working on their lead generation, whatever it might be. And so for that very reason, you are in a business that's not very um, hard, but it's not easy. It's, we know how to make business. We know how to lose weight, and yet we all have our own, handle on our nutrition and our habits. And lead generation in your real estate is the same thing. And so the biggest component of, success going forward is really the degree of activity that you're going to put on your lead engines. And then you're going to need to stay accountable. So find someone that can help you on that path. You need to know your numbers so you know where you are and where you're going, so you can make the adjustments and the tweaks along the way on your path to your big goal. All right, a lot of that comes from time blocking. I know that my time blocking has definitely improved over the last decade and gotten even stronger over the last few years. And there's two fundamentals to time blocking. You need to visualize it in your calendar, and often we do that with colorful blocks of time. And it's helpful to group tasks together. Now, you're winning by having some time blocking happening, but we're also probably struggling to fulfill those time blocks and to stay accountable. And so here are some ideas to remember, some tips on how to better follow your schedule. It is said that, most people are best when they do their prospecting in the morning. And it's really important if the people around you, your family, your colleagues, your staff, understand your lead generation time, the windows of time that you're going to put into working on your lead gen engines. And so that's protected. Okay. It's easier to stay up late at night than to get up early in the morning, but that is and continues to be one of the testaments to very successful people, that they can, get up early and have their day organized so that their lead gen time never is last minute. And make sure that you aren't, listening to your voicemail or returning calls during your lead generation. In fact, Ziglar says that it's the habit that you do every single day is how it becomes so effective. So if you do your lead generation at the same time and the same way every day, it's easier to manage. It's going to become a habit. Definitely don't check your emails prior to your prospecting, to your lead gen work, because a whole bunch of fires are going to come forward and you're going to think of all the things you need to be working on. And the truth is, all those things can wait until the afternoon, until after your lead gen is done. And for some of us, it's really effective to kind of have rewards that we treat ourselves to when we stay on track and we get our weekly lead gen done. And for others, it's sometimes helpful to have like a punishment system. I know realtors who donate, $100 to a charity or organization they really don't like when they are off track, or sometimes they give that to someone else. Or anyway, there's a way of coming up with either a reward system or a punishment system when you are doing your lead gen. So how do you decide what lead gen engines are right for you? It's really figuring out about what gives you energy, right? There's things in your real estate business that is just stuff. It's just stuff that needs to happen, but it necessarily doesn't need to happen by you. And so really write down on your worksheet, what are the things in your job that is just in the stuff column, and it doesn't necessarily mean by writing it down, you can get rid of it. You have to get to a certain point where someone can take that off your plate, but it's good to identify what you feel is filling your bucket and giving you energy, and what you feel is not giving you energy and is actually draining you. Because ironically, the same activity, the same task can give energy to one realtor and can draw energy away from the other realtor. So the cool part in knowing that is there's a real opportunity to find your own, lead engines that work for you based on what gives you energy. All right. So for me, for example, I like working with buyers. I don't like long tours with buyers. When I was younger, I certainly toured a lot more. I don't like the paperwork. I don't like random deliveries or just opening doors. I struggle with fluff conversation, and I hate wasted time or unmotivated clients. And so what fills my bucket and gives me big energy is people who really listen to me. So they value the experience I have and where I'm coming from. And so I'm really able to give them the best direction because they're listening, and I can pivot from that and give them great direction. Love to negotiate, love working on referrals, working with investors and with estates, simply because, again, you're viewed as a professional. You're coming in as a professional. And so that really fills my bucket. I like having boundaries, taking breaks from work and working with people that enjoy me, and I really like closing deals. So from designing this for myself a couple years ago, I've been able to kind of remodel my engines that I'm investing my time into from where I want to get more of my business beyond my database. And so that has helped me, and it could be a really powerful tool if you're trying to figure out what are the, the lead engines you want to invest into. Now, what is this? This is simply the perfect real estate business. This is absolutely the perfect real estate business. It's just 4 circles, 4 engines, 1 big engine on the top and 3 engines on the bottom. If your business looked like this, you're humming and you're succeeding. And most of us will never have it look like this, but it's a thing that we can thrive for. In reality, this is what our real estate business looks like. It's not circles, it's blobs. You have lots of things that you're working on. In fact, your activities and lead gen engines 6, 7, and 8 might actually be producing more results for you, but than number 1 or sorry, number 2 or 3 or 4. And you have too many things going on, and you're not organized, and it's not structured. But this is typically the average business. We're usually at this point, and by actively working on knowing how you want to, steer your business and cultivate it, you're able to improve it and get closer to the ideal business. And why is it important to only have 4 sources of business? Because it's been proven that 82% of all business, regardless if you're a realtor or if you're a plumber, or it really only comes from 4 sources. And yet most businesses, we invest into multiple sources. And especially, a problem of successful realtors who've been around a long time, the longer they're around, and people come to them with other options and different ways of building their business, they're less they're less tight with their money and hold it less accountable, because they're like, hey, I just want more lead sources, I want more engines to provide me with business. And they sometimes fall down the path of having too many little engines running and really not figuring out what their sweet spot is. And it's simply, your business comes from 4 main engines. Mathematically, 82% of all business comes from that, regardless of what industry you're in. And that's why this concept is built on 4 lead engines. All right. In my opinion, no matter what the number 1 engine, and on your worksheet, it has 4 engines and they're empty, but fill in database as your number 1 engine. It has to be your database. If you do not focus on your database and make that your biggest engine, it's a missed opportunity. You're never building the moat around your business the way you could, and you're not getting the leverage that you need to. And you're kind of missing the opportunity. It's kind of like building a car, if you were into that, and a friend comes over and you're bragging about this, this amazing nitro motor that you just installed, and it's going to make your car go a whole bunch faster. And then they ask you to turn on the car, and you're like, well, I haven't built the main engine yet. Well, your car's not running, right? You have an attachment to something that looks like a car. And a real estate business is kind of like that. If your database is not your main engine, you're really missing the opportunity. Now, the cool part is you can fix that if you feel that you're struggling there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. The reason the database needs to be your number 1 engine is, 1, it makes managing your business so much more enjoyable. You get so much more business from it, and it's a tangible asset. If you can turn your database into a data bank, which essentially means once you generate 50% or more of your annual business from your database, you have a data bank. That is a tangible asset that you could sell to another realtor. We have to think ourselves just like financial planners do, just like lawyers and architects. If you do a great job of building that main engine, of documenting it, of feeding it, of growing it and cultivating it, you can sell that to another agent when you want to leave. There's a multitude of different ways that you can monetize that and benefit from it. But sadly, there's lots of really successful realtors that were successful all their life, but they never really created a database. They made it harder on themselves while they operated as a realtor actively, and then they kind of just fizzled out, and they didn't have a tangible asset to transfer to anyone. All right, so we all have a database at this point. Whether you're a brand new agent or you've been around for a dozen years, your database is a degree of, good or not that great, but you have an opportunity to improve it. And so you can choose to, focus on it now and do what I say is a clean and cleanse strategy. Okay. And how it's built is around a really simple spreadsheet concept. So if you're using Command, or if you're using a database out there, download it into an Excel spreadsheet. And what you'll discover is You have so much missing information with people that you think are in your database. You'll download it and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I have no idea why my database is missing my client's birthday and their phone number. And oh my gosh, that email is from like 6 jobs ago. So they haven't received my newsletter in a dozen years. And what it shows you is, one, that there's a lot of holes in your existing database. And then it also gives you a foundation to grow from and to work off of. And what I mean by that is, your first step beyond downloading it is now to grow the list. So you want to write down everyone that you know on the spreadsheet, their first name and their last name, go through your phone, go through your Facebook, all the platforms that you communicate with. And what you'll discover, especially if you're a realtor that's been around for a while, is there's so many people in your world that you're communicating with, that you're, rubbing shoulders with, from, fellow kids' parents on the soccer field to, very successful people in an organization that you're part of, and they're not in your database, but you know them, they like you, and they respect you. They're just not getting the information from you in the form of your real estate business. And so it's an opportunity to kind of take a big step back and really document all the names. What you'll notice is, again, there's a lot of missing information, and we'll touch on that in a moment. But the other cool part as a realtor is, if you fill out your list, you can share that with the important people in your life, your spouse or family members, and say, hey, these are all the people in my database that I want to add to it, or that I'm working on building relationships with. Who else do you know that I should add to it? And this step does one of two really cool things. One, often your partner or your loved ones don't really know what you're doing as a realtor. They kind of understand that you go to work and periodically you tell them that you sold the property, but they don't understand all the steps it takes to get there. And so I find that this strategy is a really nice way of connecting with your partner. And your partner is going to come up and add folks, or your significant other, or your family member will add people to your list that might be closer to them, but they want to support you, and they'll actually get involved and help you add more people to your list. So once you have people in your list, you need to get all their information. So you need to call them initially in order to fill out these main columns. You need their names, obviously, you need their cell number, their email, their birthday, their home address, and maybe some notes on how you know them. So down the road, as your database grows, that you can figure out what the connection was and what the history was. Really, really simple. If you fill that in, you can then put it back into your CRM, and you can start, applying your touch point system, whether it's a 36 touch point or larger. You certainly have many ways that you can passively be reaching out to them and massaging the relationship. And then you specifically want, quarterly points in time where you're reaching out to them actively on the phone with an item of value, a conversation item about the market, or perhaps, a vendor that you think is really great that they might need in the future. Talking about, insurance, talking about what's happening in the investing world, any number of things. But you now have all their information. You know that they're getting your birthday card, they're getting your monthly newsletter, and now you're really able to double down on the relationship. And there's many hugely successful realtors that are never actually asking for business, even though that's powerful, and I suggest that you do it. But they are always coming from a place of giving. So they're always just communicating with their database, adding to the database, and the referrals are steadily coming towards them. So number one needs to be your database. It is a painfully long business if you don't do that. Okay. Beyond your database being your number one engine, there is over 99 other ways of developing business. Okay, we're going to go through a number of them. And again, I keep adding to this list, and in less than a year, this will be a book, and hopefully you'll enjoy it and get some more information from it. But there's so many ways of growing your business. And again, I bring back that you shouldn't have much more than 3 other engines, because it'll just dilute you. I myself know from experience where my business grew quite quickly over the years. And then as I got successful, I started adding more lead gen engines to my business. I was going wider with lead generation, when later I realized I should have been going deeper. And the things that were working had so much more business to give me, and they resonated with me. So I was being, authentic to them, and I was actually doing them properly. Now, you got to keep in mind that not every lead gen engine is equal. Some are high cost with low leverage, some are high cost and offer high leverage, low cost, low leverage, and low cost, high leverage, which is always the dream. And then there's a degree of effectiveness for each item. And so really, you need to figure out by choosing your engines, which ones you want to invest in based on how much resources financially you want to invest into and how quickly you want to return. There's a high degree of effectiveness with door knocking versus farming. Farming is going to take a lot longer to get a potential contact with a seller and a buyer, but there's a different, there's a different leverage point to it. So you get to figure out which engine works for you based on where you are in your business. All right, so let's jump into it. Really simple concept, really simple engine is free pens. We've now gotten to a place in the world where you can get quality pens for probably 60 cents a pen. And I've been doing this for years. I literally travel with pens in my bag. I drop them at restaurants, and I don't just drop one, I drop several. I leave them in every business I'm at. It's gotten to the point where, in places now around my neighborhood, I see people using my pens that have no idea that, I am who I am. And it's pretty cool because it's relatively low cost. It's not that effective in the sense of you're not getting quick return, but I definitely have connected sales to it. I've gone into homes where I've never been in that home and I saw my pen in the home, and I've gone to businesses that I see the pen. And again, this is something that works with me because I don't need every one of my lead gen engines to be a quick turnaround. And this is more like a slow burn. So this is one of the things that I add to my sprinkling of engines. All right, another engine you could do is focusing on expired listings. And I know that has definitely changed over the years. I can say from my own market, it's a lot harder now because we do privacy protected for the seller's names most of the time. So there's definitely steps that you need to follow if you're going to do cold calling or expireds. But if you choose to do it, it does have, even in today's world, it does have effectiveness. And early on in my business, a lot of my listings initially came from targeting expireds. I would, look up the expireds through the MLS system, and then I would collect all the different MLS numbers and put it into a spreadsheet so I could cut and paste the entire list effectively and easily, every time I wanted to send out another mail out. And I was very shy at that stage in my business. And so I didn't want to be the realtor that went and door knocked when a listing expired. I was doing it the slow drip system. So I came up with a sequence of 5-6 different mailers, from talking about being an expired listing expert, having sold, here's all the ones I've sold, here's my marketing plan, here's testimonials. And so I had a sequence of different mailers that will go out to these expired listings. And usually, by the third or fourth, if they were going to call me, they would give me a phone call, and they would say that my mailers were more elaborate and more detailed than other folks. And that is one of the reasons they brought me to the table. So focusing on expireds is a really powerful lead gen system. I know other realtors who go with direct face-to-face. So what that means, as soon as a property is expired and not privacy protected, they go to if it's a detached or if it's a walk-up, they go to the property and they introduce themselves, and that has been really effective for them. We use branded tents, so it's again an idea you could have. I live in North Vancouver. I have 2 parents now that are coaches and referees in the soccer world, and I've provided them both with a tent that let me just admit someone here that is branded for my business. So it rains a lot on the North Shore, and every time they go out during and they have 3 kids, so there's lots of soccer games happening during a soccer game, and it's raining, they throw out my tent. They pull it along, and all I had to do was buy the tent, and they are putting it out every time that they're playing a game. So it's a really great way of building brand awareness. Another great lead gen system, and there's realtors that have literally built their business, around the secondary to their database, is going out there and asking for testimonials, to be a leader in whether it's dedicated testimonial pages, or if it's on Google or wherever, or on Facebook. You figure out where you want to steer your testimonials to. And it is powerful. It is effective. There are people out there that will check your name before they are going to consider calling you. And testimonial strategy can really help you separate yourself from your competition. A strategy you can employ, and I've seen people do it. This is perhaps not the most exciting branding, but there are some folks that out there that have really exciting branding, and they put it on hats or on sweaters, and they gift it to their clients, and their clients are wearing it around town. I've seen a person in the Lower Mainland who has kind of a little contest with I think it's a hat that they give their clients, and the clients will take a picture with the hat in all sorts of places that the clients will travel to and get to, and it's his own little contest that you travel somewhere and you take a picture of your hat in a unique place, and you get a prize. So he's turned sponsored merch into a strategy and a contest. Really powerful for Connie, my business partner, and our team, and is client events. So we have 4 or 5 client events throughout the year. Our office now organizes them, but in the past we were doing them ourselves. And again, it continues the story for us of being able to grow our business by giving. We're always inviting our clients to something. If you're a lone ranger, if you're a realtor on your own, or you just want to dabble your toes in this, it can be as simple as communicating to your clients that you're going to have a free ice cream giveaway in a local park near your home or near your brokerage sometime this summer, and go get a cooler or go hire an ice cream company, and folks will come to you, and it'll be a nice way of building connection. And more importantly as well is definitely the people that show up, it's powerful to give them a great interaction. But what we've discovered over the years is it's often the story that you tell building into it, inviting them even if they don't come, and then afterwards sending them pictures or telling them how great it was. It's those touch points that layers and builds the connection with your database and continues to attract the referrals and the connections. And so client events are an amazing way of generating business. I don't do this, but there are certainly realtors who do billboards. So this would be in the high cost, high leverage. High cost, obviously, it must be very expensive to rent a billboard, but it's also high leverage. Think of the thousands of cars that will drive past a billboard, depending on where it is. And it obviously works because there's realtors constantly that are doing it. I think like anything, if you do it at the wrong time, or if you do it when, with the wrong budget, it's not going to work for you. But it's certainly a way you could grow your business, along with bus shelter ads. I've seen realtors who get the bus shelter ads and any ad space around their office where they are, and they might on the ad say, step into 123 Main Street and come meet me. And so there's creative ways of not only going up into an ad location, but also building from it and telling a story and getting more leverage through it. Obviously, there's bench ads and newspapers, not what I've done in a long time, but it obviously still works, and it is a way that you could build your business. And especially, perhaps if you came from a background of marketing and you really, enjoy that age group that still really likes newspapers or that style of marketing. I think it's probably must have gotten cheaper over the years because I think it's probably less competition. So newspaper advertising does work. My business partner and I years ago used to have a running ad in a local paper where every week we would show our just listed and just solds, and it did work. I think we did it for 2 years. After that, the prices changed and we moved on to something else. But we definitely got visibility, and we did get leverage and leads from it. Cold calls, I mean, there's any number of ways to make this a main engine in your business. And again, it comes from consistency that makes it really effective. Cold calling can be as uncomfortable for some people as getting a tooth pulled. And for other realtors, it can be a very rewarding way of generating business because you are literally maybe just one phone call away from a listing. And you can make cold calling palatable. You could cold call around a neighborhood in an area where you just got a listing, and then you follow up when you sold it. So you're really coming from contribution, you're coming with information and value, and you're not just randomly calling people, even though that can work as well. Of course, you got to make sure that you're following the rules in your neighborhood and in your country. But cold calling can be, a very low cost but highly effective. It's low cost, it's low leverage because you're only calling one person at a time, but it's highly effective because it literally could be one call that gets you in front of a seller and you got a listing. All right, so there's so much you can do with a listing. It's sending out flyers of just listed, welcome, we're looking for someone to your neighborhood. It's using using the listing that you have as a marketing tool, and also helping the seller realize that you are out there marketing their property. So you can get twice the value out of this activity. And what I mean by that is, if you have a strategy that you set up where every time you get a listing, there's a sequence of perhaps 2-3 mailers that you send out around every listing to a certain number of people around that neighborhood. You have a strategy for your listing system where you can tell your seller, this is a differentiating factor. I invest this amount of money into each one of my listings, which gets you exposure. And as well, it is getting you further business. It's putting you in front of future sellers, future buyers, and you are separating yourself from folks who don't do it. And so this is a great way. I know lots of realtors who have built their business simply by, buying bus shelters and bench ads and mailing every time they have a listing a sequence of touch points. Again, there's a cost to it. So it's a high cost, but it's also a high leverage because you're not doing it. Someone else is putting the flyers into the doors of your potential clients, and it can be pretty darn effective. Your website is a great tool. It's low cost, but it's high leverage. So it's a special combination. It's a matter of what you do with it, and how do you get in front of the consumer, potential new clients. Regardless, everyone needs a website. The consumer will typically, Google your name and make sure that you have a profile out there. The degree of effectiveness on how you're going to use your website to build your business, if you choose to, is really determining, the amount of time that you're going to put into it. But there's lots of realtors, again, who have used the website as one of their main engines in growing their business. As I was saying earlier, there's people who nail door knocking at a high level at our office, and it's something that I've never done because it doesn't resonate with me. And so that's the cool part of the business we're in. We don't have to do the same thing, and yet we all have to have our database. So there's one thing we all have to do, and then all the other engines, you get to choose which one works for you. Big businesses have been built around open houses. You can choose to do a boring open house, a last minute open house, which is literally you running, 5 minutes late to the open house, throwing up 1 or 2 signs, apologizing to the people that are already lined up at the front door about being late. Or you could do an open house that takes all week. You can go door knock, several days prior to the open house. You could even have a VIP night where only the neighbors are invited, and you might do, sushi and wine or pizza and beer, and really make an event out of it to get the neighborhood out. And then, you could be there well in advance. I've seen people rent ice cream trucks. I've seen people, rent burger trucks. It really depends how you want to do it. But it's interesting how, an activity such as an open house, which all of us have done, can be done at a very high level, or can be done at a very reactive level where you're almost just complying your seller so you can say, I did an open house, but you're not getting the effect out of it from lead generation. And that's with a lot of these things. It's really the amount of effort you put into it will determine how effective they become. And I find, it's easier to put energy into something that really resonates with you. And that's why we want to bring it back to what type of lead engines fill your bucket. And those are the ones you want to focus on, and those are the ones you want to choose from. Another, strategy is a postcard strategy or a notepad strategy. There's realtors in our marketplace that have built their business around, sending out hundreds of thousands of notepads every year. It's literally all they do. And yet I go into many homes and everyone in that neighborhood has a stack of their postcards, and they do sell a lot of properties. So I know it does work, but again, this would be a high cost, high leverage. It might be a little bit less effective because it's going to take a long time typically to get that return. But it's also one that really is well protected because it costs a lot. I think lots of realtors think about having a notepad strategy or a postcard strategy, but they don't do it because they don't set aside the budget and they don't plan for it. And so it's an interesting engine where you know, you can kind of protect yourself from a lot of competition simply because the cost is quite high to do it. You know, obviously you could have ads on TV. That's a way of growing your business. Low cost, semi leveraged way is putting out information pamphlets or your business card in community centers, or areas where it's welcome to showcase your business and advertise. And certain cafes in your neighborhood do that. We all know the cafes we walk into, and there's a whole bunch of flyers and business cards. Now, you might scoff at that and say that, that I'm not going to do that. That doesn't work. Well, it doesn't cost you anything. And I can definitely tell you that people have sold real estate by doing that strategy. So for some folks who go to the same cafe every day, they do that. They put up, 3 business cards, and when those are gone, they'll add another 3 business cards on that same cork board. A touch point that our team does is we've created really nice magazines. One side talks to you about selling your home. The other side talks to you about buying your home. We obviously use that in our listing presentation, but we also just carry them around. And you would be surprised how many times real estate comes up in a conversation. And perhaps it's not a big conversation where that person wants to give you their information and have you follow up, but you had a moment of like, hey, we had a connection, and we talked about real estate. I pull out the magazine and I just say, hey, there's some information in here that might help you. And people have commented on how professional it looks, and they have followed up on it. This magazine sits around their house, sits in their car. Maybe they don't need it, but then another person looks at it. So again, this is a simple way. It does cost a little bit of money, but it's a simple way of separating yourself and using it potentially to build your business. We all need to drink water. So if you had really nice water bottles designed, it might cost you a little bit of money, but you're certainly going to get leverage from it, because the quality reusable water bottles are getting used by clients day in and day out. And for it's a great touch point. It might be a really simple thing, but again, you could build your business from it. We've all seen the bus ads. They work. Certain realtors really love it. Vehicle branding works. I don't brand my vehicle because I'm afraid of how I drive, even though I'm a good driver, and I don't want to be branded. But there are realtors that have their car branded and it works for them. I sometimes drive behind them, and every time I do that, I question myself. Maybe I should utilize my vehicle as a moving billboard, but I choose not to at this point. But it definitely works. And for a couple $1,000s, you have a moving billboard that you can use for years. If you live in an apartment building, there's typically apartment boards. There certainly has been in the past and in the older buildings, where again, you could leave your business card. I leave my pens everywhere. So any apartment I walk into, if I have a moment or two where it's not obvious or awkward with the client, I just drop a few pens at the apartment pin board. And I found that there's certain apartment buildings that if you leave a couple business cards, they will throw that in the garbage, but they won't throw the pens away. So it's a nice way of kind of maneuvering around that roadblock. All right. Another thing that we do is we sponsor different sports teams. It's really quite effective, where you can have a soccer team with your brand and logo on it. We've sponsored bike racers that have done the Fonda and different events. Again, each type of lead gen engine has a different impact and a different result. And so you need to figure out, kind of based on your timing, based on your needs and your degree of investment, what could work for you. And this is a comfortable passive one that, imagine what would it look like if you put aside your budget to, sponsor every single sports team that your children are part of from an early age. I would imagine, as you follow them throughout their sporting career, that you're going to get a high number of referrals, and you're going to be known as the parent that always gives to the kids and helps get the kids on the bus and get them to the event. And I would imagine there's a big reward for that. You're going to get lots of new clients and business. Yellow Pages, I'm sure there's still Yellow Pages. I have not used them in a long time, but maybe it's a great time to consider it, because maybe there's a real lack of realtors now using Yellow Pages. Again, something that worked really well years ago does sometimes fall off and is not worth doing, but maybe comes back. All right. My business at one point early in my career, one of the main engines was networking. I started and was part of a BNI group early in my career, and I poured into that and was highly successful. I think I did it for like 8 years. And a lot of my powerful ambassadors and relationships came from doing that. Now, as a realtor, there was no group that I could find that needed a realtor that wanted to give me a chance because I was brand new. And so I went out there and built my own. And early on, my BNI networking group took a lot of time to cultivate and manage, but I got so much business from it that it was worth doing. So networking definitely works. Now, sporadic networking or networking with kind of commission breath doesn't work, where you're just bouncing around looking for the low hanging fruit. But you can choose whether this is something that you want to invest into, because again, those bottom three engines that you are growing, the purpose of them is to push new contacts into your database, and then your database is going to continue to touch them and cultivate them, and that's often the long game that really generates a great business. You can host workshops. We have at our office, we have a great office space, and it's really awesome to see all the different realtors that figure out a niche. We have realtors that are hosting a workshop on how to declutter. Folks are hosting a workshop on how to stage and prep your home. We have a great realtor, Karina, who focuses on the elderly, and so she really figures out how to help elderly people downsize and get the best value out of their home and their living situation. And so she's created workshops where she puts together all the different affiliated partners in the seniors world, and has created a foundation, a platform where they speak and seniors come and they learn, and she's kind of the conduit and the host, and all that works with her engine of servicing the senior market. And so hosting a workshop is an amazing way of growing your business. Now, another one is a retiring realtor strategy. What would your business look like if you got into a relationship with a dozen or 2 dozen realtors, and you never know who might be retiring? There's obviously realtors who've been around a long time, and so you assume that based on their age, they are going to retire in a certain time frame. But during my 14-year career now, I have seen realtors retire for any number of reasons much earlier than I thought they would, and I've seen older realtors stay on a lot longer. So the point there is, if you took this serious and you actually, let's say you targeted 20 or 30 different realtors, and the goal initially is just to build rapport and value, and you socialized with them and you learned from them and you offered them value. I can't imagine that some of them won't retire before you. And if you've built a real connection and if you've really given them value, I can't imagine that they wouldn't be open to you coming up with a way of compensating them for their hard work and selling their business to you. And there's many ways of doing that. But how cool would that be to be able to, instantly pick up a whole new database of people who actually own homes or have owned homes? And so I think this is a highly underrated strategy that's out there. Again, it's not quick like door knocking. You can't just walk up to an old realtor and say, "When are you retiring? Can I buy your business?" That probably has the wrong impact. But this is a great engine if applied correctly. I've seen realtors do this. I actually saw it in Soyuz last summer when I was camping there with friends, and I had a long time waiting for the pizza. So I talked to the lady and got the full overview, where it's a great busy pizza shop, and a realtor approached them and said, "Are you okay with me buying your pizza boxes if I brand them?" And they're like, "Sure, we'll save a few cents on every pizza because we don't have to buy the pizza boxes." So this realtor created a really cool logo sticker and stamp, and put a stamp and a sticker on every single box. And it was an area where a lot of vacation sales are done, so a lot of people go there for a trip, for a vacation, and then later think about potentially buying some recreational real estate. And it's been an underpinning of their business ever since, because I actually sent referrals to that person, and over the years I've gotten to know them. So Really simple. You could put your business on a pizza box. There's certainly a cost to it. Like anything, the effectiveness comes after a long time of doing it, typically. So you need to not only have the budget, but you need to have the timeline and the budget to make sure that it's going to work. But it would be a great engine if you wanted to. A very handsome and talented realtor in our office, Mr. James Littman, has this cool little ad on his bike and a little slot for business cards. And as he, bikes around downtown Vancouver and Stanley Park and such, he just parks it. And he's a very social, charismatic realtor. And this is perfect for him. It resonates with his style. And he's able to generate conversations because someone grabs the business card. And people can grab a business card when he's not even near his bike. So such a simple thing. I'm not sure what that cost him, but maybe $100 to get that sign made and attached. And I know he's gotten business from it, right? So there's creative ways that you can grow business. You just have to think about it, commit to it, and activate it. All right, one strategy that works really, really well. It's a great engine, and I did it for a little while early in my career. I created a turnkey box. And I would tell my clients, hey, welcome first time buyer, really excited to work with you. One of the perks of working with me is that you're going to get an amazing turnkey housewarming kit. It's going to have like some booze in it. It's going to have a couple trays of food from this deli. It's going to have all the things you need, from napkins to the paper and plates and all the items you need. Literally, you can grab it and you schedule a housewarming party and everything is there. I think it cost me about $350, so it wasn't inexpensive. This is almost 10 years ago, and it really worked. And the side effect of it is you kept getting invited to housewarmings. So you would get invited to a housewarming, you would sit beside someone, they would ask you, how do you know the person? You'd say, hey, I was the realtor. It would later come out that you kind of sponsored the event. And a large number of continuing referrals and clients came from those early days of doing housewarming parties. And you could build such a big business if you applied this. The opposite version of that, and I don't personally know anyone that does this, but it's just as easy, is creating a seller's party. So, if the seller really loves their neighborhood and you did a great job and they're passionate about their neighborhood and they're sad about their neighborhood, this is a really of leaving. This is a really nice way of kind of closing the loop, and they would appreciate it as a gift. And how amazing would it be to have the neighbors come over for a glass of wine or a snack, and you get introduced as the awesome realtor who just got an all-time high price for the neighborhood, and you're connecting with not people who you don't know whether they're going to buy or sell. You're connecting with people that actually own a home in the same neighborhood that you just sold. I mean, it's incredible if you chose to do that. All right, targeting renters. So this is an interesting strategy that I know quite a few people do, and takes a little bit of work, but it can be very effective. So I know a realtor that collects all data from all those ads that you see on Craigslist or you see on Marketplace, and they are tracking listings that were rented, listings that were ads that were up for rent for an apartment. And so they know which apartment was up for rent. They don't know the tenant's name, but they start sending mailers to the tenant at the 6-month mark, talking about for the similar amount of what you're paying in rent, you could buy this property. Have you thought about buying this property? Would you like to have a buyer's consult? And so majority of their new business comes from tenants calling them who, are getting that push towards considering home ownership than just continuing a lease. And really smart. Like, it does take a little bit of effort and tracking, but it's when you think about it, it's ingenious. And the flip side of that is targeting landlords. So that same ad, if you could capture the email address and figure out at the 6-7 month mark, reaching out to a landlord and figuring out how to get their information perhaps, and reaching out to them and saying, have you ever considered selling? Right now is a great time to sell. Typically, after a landlord has been a landlord for 6-7 months, there's probably been a hiccup, and some people might be open to selling it versus renewing the lease. So a great strategy could be finding ways of targeting landlords to move them from being a landlord to being a home seller. Again, the following ones are kind of based on alignment. So what would it look like if you targeted the newly engaged world? And so you could have an affiliation with, with those stores that service people who've recently got engaged. And you could, find a way of being the preferred realtor for that store, that you could find a way of maybe having them use bags with your branding on them, or maybe they insert a flyer into each one of their sales about you. So you can be creative and figure out, how can I get in front of this group of people if I want to. And so, there's specific ones like newly engaged people. They're often looking to perhaps cohabitate, and they may already own separately a home. So it could literally be a really powerful one where you might be selling 2 apartments and buying a townhouse from one marketing practice. Yeah, equally, there's realtors that do really well from targeting the divorce market by having really powerful relationships with the realtors, not the realtors, with the lawyers who practice heavily in this field. And it's a really powerful service that certain realtors offer, because if you're a realtor that can do a really good job of focusing in on the things that you need to focus in and not getting caught up in the emotions, you can be a really powerful, almost middle negotiator and advocate for a divorcing partnership, and help those folks move forward with their life. So that in itself could be an engine if you so chose. Lots of realtors target investors. There's lots of different ways of doing that, and really powerful. Even if you live in an expensive place like Vancouver, where really there's no such thing as quote unquote investments that are positive cash flow. But for a long time, I had a really good strategy where I would kind of call it, live here, rent there. So I would be helping local Vancouver people buy their first investment properties outside of our area. And I would be sending a referral, and in that way, I would be scratching another realtor's back by giving them business, so to speak, in another part of Canada. And my clients would get investment property, and eventually I would get, hopefully, a referral back from that person. There's realtors, there's ways of targeting the 55 plus age category. I don't have the stat here, but I think it's as high as like 70% of all the sales right now are being done, like listings sold, by people that are 55 years and older. And so if you want to be a listing expert, there's a way of targeting folks that are 55 and older, and helping them perhaps downsize or sell the home and buy a vacation property. Any number of transactions can happen when someone actually owns their home. Lots of business has been built around buyer and seller seminars. So, that could be one of the engines that you put into your business. You could create a buyer seminar online or in person. Same thing as seller seminars. We see those a little bit less because we always, assume that the buyers need more help than the sellers. But you could create a seller seminar that you just, you run every quarter, and it becomes second nature. When you're going to do it, you put out some snacks, or it's online. And even if you just got 1 or 2 quality people that are looking for more information, that's a pretty powerful way of always adding people to your database. And not just people, but qualified people who likely own a home and they're there for a reason. Garage sale. I actually know realtors that literally go around to garage sales, not because they actually want to buy things. They're looking to strike up conversations with homeowners, because homeowners are often having a garage sale before they list the home. And so, many people are decluttering and cleaning their home when they have a need. They have a need because they want to purchase another home. They want to sell their home. And so what a way of getting in front of someone and, buying a few little trinkets and maybe building rapport with people. Ironically as well, the same person has kind of pivoted from garage sales to buying things off of Facebook. So they'll go and pick up, small items that they'll buy from people who are selling them. And they often can find people that are in the process of decluttering, often for the purpose of a sale, and they're trying to build rapport with those people in order to get an opportunity to apply to be their listing agent. Again, creative way of doing it, and also a really creative way of being able to target the neighborhood that you might want to sell in. Facebook groups, any number of groups that you could design based on your passions. If you're into motorbikes like great realtor in our office, Lynn, you could have a Facebook group based on motorbikes. And so, you know, really connecting, and this is the beautiful thing about doing real estate long term. The longer you're a realtor and you're cultivating your core database, you get to choose your future engines, right? And that can change over time because you can be more true to the style of how you want to operate. And so you try and like interweave your business and your lifestyle together. And so a great way of doing that is finding Facebook groups that you want to be part of, and not leading with your real estate profile, but building rapport and relationships, and eventually people will learn what you do and you will get business as a result. Obviously, there's Facebook ads, and there's the cool part about Facebook ads or all these other Google ads and things that you can do is it's a double valued approach. And what I mean by that is part of our listing strategy when we sit down with a seller with the Kim Buna Group is we'll go through all the different things that we do that separates ourselves from perhaps the competition, but more effectively, like it's a machine. We are going to do all these things to promote and market your home and get your home in front of as many consumers as possible. And so this is truthfully really helpful in selling a listing. And equally, people will see you, they'll see that you have business, that you're an active local realtor, and they will potentially reach out to you. So the same activity of, let's say, Facebook ads where you're advertising a listing that you have can make it a win-win with your seller as part of your listing strategy and can generate new leads for you. And that's why they say, a listing should really get you at least one other piece of business, whether it's a buyer or another seller, if you market it correctly. Color contests are a great way. I can think of a realtor right now that online has maybe every second month she has a color contest. And her trick is that she gives a small prize to everyone, but it's a prize that has to be dropped off. And so she is passively getting addresses from the consumers, and then is able to maintain that relationship and add them to their database. And people love it. Some people just love entering contests, and many of those are homeowners. And so it's a great way of either having a contest to give back to your clients as a touch point, or of finding new potential clients through a color contest. Builders. Do you have builders in your neighborhood? Of course you do. Have you ever thought of building your business on builders? Do you connect with builders almost more than the consumer? If so, you could become an advocate for the builder and become their go-to real estate economist, and build your business around that. I can think of several amazing realtors in our neighborhood who have a database and work for builders, and that's all they really do. Did it take them a long time to build those relationships? For sure, but there's always new builders entering the market. There's always new opportunity. That certainly could be an engine. Pop buys, not my thing, but I certainly have tried it. And yet there's so many people that, again, build their business on pop buys. Every quarter, every second month, they have another goofy and sweet and silly thing that they create and drop off at their clients, and their clients love it. Their clients start to expect that the realtor will pop by and drop off something else, and in that way you're giving you're growing your business through giving, and you're building that connection. Talked a little bit about that. Here's an interesting one. So it's very successful realtors have done it where they have a branded cup. Anytime someone gives them a referral, be it like a really low level, like even a referral that's not a referral, my sister-in-law, love her to death, tells me every time she knows someone who's selling a house and sends me the listing, never the opportunity to list, but like, hey, maybe you can find a buyer for this. And I have over the years sent her, every time she does that, a mug filled with candy to her workplace. She has never gotten me a listing, but the mugs at the office have gotten me the opportunity. I've gotten listings by people at the office drinking out of my mug and then later calling me. So indirectly, thank you, sister-in-law. But the result came from sending a $2 mug filled with $2 of candy to her, knowing that maybe the first mug she'll take home, but by the third and fourth, she doesn't want that in her house. So she'll leave them at the office. And there are other realtors that build their business from this. I forget, there's one very infamous Keller Williams trainer, and he early on with his team, this is what they've built their business around. CMAs, it's a great one. You can have unsolicited CMAs or solicited CMA as a engine to your business. What I mean by that is, you could send out a CMA to every one of your clients without asking them. And every homeowner is always interested in what the current value of their home is, regardless of whether they're looking to sell. That's a tangible, item of value that they're going to get and actually look at. You could also make it solicited CMAs. And what I mean by that is you can send a text to your client being like, hey, I just wanted to send you an evaluation of your home at this time of the year. Are there any updates that you've made since the last time we spoke or since you purchased it on the MLS? And people will text you back and you can get back into conversation with them. They'll tell you the little bits of improvements they've made to their home. You incorporate those into the evaluation and you send it to them. And so it's a great way of staying in touch with your clients, but finding a way of getting referrals from them. And so you're, again, going deeper with this than necessarily finding a totally different lead gen engine. We talked about LinkedIn ads. The difference between LinkedIn ads and Facebook ads are kind of the types of people that are looking at it. And so you might be more of a professional that likes that more, professional style. And so perhaps your ads would be more powerful in LinkedIn versus, Instagram, because there's different folks looking at the different platforms. You could have branded candy that you give to your clients who have businesses that you leave at open houses, and it's just another way of, for a small amount of money, getting your brand and your name and your phone number out to the consumers. So an interesting one that I've seen a few people do is grow their business through prizes and contests. So they have an ongoing prize, maybe every 2-3 months, that they're marketing, where anyone can enter, but you get more entries if you send a referral or connect us with a referral. And this seems to be coming back with popularity again. I'm seeing quite a few mortgage brokers run this strategy now, where it's kind of wanting to market to the consumer by offering an entry into a draw for a free TV or an iPad or something, and it clearly works. You're getting a brand new set of data. You're getting the correct data because the person wants to win a prize, and so they're giving you their correct phone number and the correct email. And if you use that effectively, and if you have a proper touch system, you're going to get business from that. So that's another way of finding people that you have not met yet and turning them into clients. Our team makes a gum pack. We hand out gum packs at our open houses and as our business card, and it's certainly a good touch point that the consumer speaks to, and I carry them with me. So if I'm at a networking event or something, I leave a couple out at the coffee station for people who want no longer to have coffee breath. I have definitely done business through my gum packs. What if you create a YouTube channel? YouTube and video seems to be like the one thing that, even as social media and as AI and things keep evolving, video seems to kind of be standing the test of time, seems to be that cornerstone. And so video can be an amazing way that you grow your business, because you can get credibility in the marketplace. You can get a really big following. There's lots of realtors in our market that have figured out the niche that they want, and they've created a video channel to service it, and they get all their new business through folks that are watching them, and when they have a need, they reach out because they have visibility and they have credibility. You could you could sponsor a moving truck. There are realtors that offer free moving services and have their advertisement plastered on a moving truck, and that is their lead gen. That is the way that they are getting new business and new opportunities. One of our events that we do every year, and I'm just designating a bit more time for it because it's so powerful, is you literally could just have a barbecue in the park once a year, and you could spend 3 months advertising to that, publicly, to people you haven't met, and more importantly, to the people you have met. Because the powerful thing in the people in your database is, when someone comes and you're giving them a free lunch, they often want to thank you. They often want to say thanks for that opportunity. And so they're, the natural thing is they're going to talk to you about real estate, and they're often going to tell you about an opportunity that, they want to connect you with. And so it's interesting where sometimes when we have these events, the people that show up, they're talking about a referral that they're going to connect us to, or something that's going to happen in the future. And I have to sometimes sit back and wonder, if we didn't have this event, would you have talked to me about this? And probably no. So it is a great way of, again, reminding the people around you that you're a realtor and you'd love to help, people that are important to them. And so a way of doing that is building your business around perhaps a free public barbecue once a year. For example, as I talked earlier about testimonials, we focus on, for a long time, we focused on Rank My Agent. And so we do quite well on that, and we get lots of visibility, and we have gotten business from that. And now we're focusing more as a team on Google. And so we're building up our Google reviews. But, building your business through reviews is a really tangible way of growing it. You could sponsor a run in any small town, or probably there's runs or different sporting events that are happening where they're looking for sponsorship. Have you ever thought of growing your business by kind of mixing your lifestyle of what you like and sponsoring your fellow athletes or whatever you're into? Figure out a way of getting the business mixed in with your pleasure, with the things that you want to do. Websites and blogs. There are realtors that have built, their business around having a really powerful blog as well. That will continue to change and get easier. I think with artificial intelligence, it probably gets to a place where you can have a blog very effectively being created and building out content. So that might be a way that you could grow your business. There's radio ads. If you're in a small town, I mean, how much cooler could it be than it could be to advertise on the local hockey rink? Happens everywhere. And do you use it? Is it a way that you could connect with your people and really invest into it? Subway ads, you could write a book. I wrote a book 7-8 years ago, and I send one book out almost every day to someone, and I've certainly had lots of powerful conversations with people that connected to a piece of business through my book, which was kind of a side effect. It wasn't the strategy, but I now do know realtors who write books, not so much for the book, but that it gives them a purpose of communicating and a tangible item of giving to the client. Schools, fundraisers, what would it look like if you were the parent or the realtor and the parent that was always involved in contributing to your school? It might take some time, but you're certainly going to get the visibility of other kids as parents and the faculty. You could sponsor a charity that's really, close to your heart and focus on, maybe not only financially, but maybe you sit on the board and you just contribute or you volunteer, and that'd be a great way of giving back to the community, of filling your bucket, and indirectly you'll definitely get business. So it really comes back to, and those were just a brainstorm of ideas, and there's more, but the purpose of that is really to figure out like what works for you. And so the steps that I'd like you to take from here forward is, if you haven't already, figure out what are the things that fill your bucket, what gives you energy. That's the most important part. And what are some lead gen strategies that you could incorporate into your business that perhaps you replace with things that you thought were important to you, to really build a business that's worth owning to your style and that generates repeatable business again and again. So for myself to run over it really quickly, so you can kind of, see my example and then apply it to yourself. I love getting, leverage, as I mentioned, from my time and working with people who really, appreciate my experience. So my engines are really getting lots of referrals from realtors like you watching right now, from aligned businesses through networking and estate sales, because again, all those lead gens bring me referrals that I'm not really courting the client. I'm servicing the client. I'm a professional, but I'm being introduced as a professional right from the beginning, and we tend to be further along the sales path than doing an open house, for example. So, when you map this out, I figured I want to have a referral strategy. I want lots of business to come to me from referrals. So what I do is I'm involved in the relocation world. I have a strategy to target realtors across Canada, so they know that I'm an option in Vancouver to send the referrals to. I teach just like I have right now, and business has come from that, from giving into you and hopefully helping your business. You'll remember me and send me a referral. So that is one of my main engines that I use to grow my business. Networking, as I told you before, I used to be part of a BNI. Since then, I've created my own networking group called Modern Business Builders. It's a little bit different. It's a bit more of a graduated version, perhaps, of a different concept, but it resonates with where I am at my stage of career and life. I have a newsletter, that goes out. I really focus on connecting with other business entrepreneurs, other business people, and finding ways of growing their business. And as a result, I get their referrals. So I like to grow my business through a networking engine. And these are the 4 strategies that feed that engine. And then, I love getting estate sales because, again, I'm dealing with a lawyer or a professional, and they're really looking for my expertise. And there's a lot less, subjective emotion involved as far as pricing, and it's really more my style. And so to make that happen, I have ongoing relationships that I cultivate with lawyers, with estate services. Grow my referrals around that field. And I have a landing page that we're creating so that when someone Googles, what are the steps to an estate sale, that hopefully my profile comes up and maybe I can get the opportunity to apply for that role. So again, I've been able to come up with strategies that feed this engine after I decided what my 3 engines are. And my engines have changed. Like years ago, like I said, at one time, one of my main engines was open house, the open house party. And later I realized that really wasn't where I wanted to go, and I wanted to get more time and leverage out of my business. So I've changed it. Now, the slide that I'll leave you with is, what's the next step that you can do in order to apply hopefully a nugget or 2 from the last hour to your business. So ask yourself, what is something that you're going to change about your business, and then write it down and turn that into a new habit. Print this page off, put it on your mirror in your bathroom, put it on your door, and every day complete the new habit. Do it, work on that lead gen business. And if you can do 90 days out of 100, you are going to have a new habit formed. You are going to find that it gets a lot easier. And with more leads, you're able to run your business and control it a lot more. Are there any questions from anyone? Let me see here. Hey, Frank. Hey, Phil. Let me go. Angela, yeah, definitely. I can, anyone who wants a recording or the slides, just email me and we can send it to you. And Frank, on the spreadsheet for each touch. Definitely, Frank, that in the spreadsheet, you could definitely, track what you sent them. At one time, yeah, I early in my career would come up with a script and an item that I was speaking to every quarter, and I would run through my entire database, talk about that item, and then move on to another item the next time. And I would print them out so I knew it. And at one time I had a binder full of them. So definitely the tracking helps. Thank you, Phil. Thanks, Tessie. Thanks, Melanie. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I hope that you got some nuggets out of it, and feel free to reach out to me anytime if there's anything I can help you with in your business, and go out there and take control of your business by controlling your leads. Thanks, everyone.